Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Sentence Degree and PG College for Women, Mallapur, Hyderabad, I, Vimla Devi, Senior Faculty, Department of Commerce, extend a warm welcome for Day 2 of 6-day National Level Faculty Enhancement Program on New Age Learning and Teaching Skills. Today's session is on predictive analytics. It is my pleasure to introduce our resource person, Dr. K. Suvarchala Rani. She is an assistant professor from Department of Management Studies, Bhavans Vivekananda College for Sciences, Humanities and Commerce. She is an MBA, qualified state eligibility test, and holds a PhD degree. She has more than 13 years of teaching experience, and the academic positions she holds are Cluster College Coordinator, Teaching, Learning and Evaluation Criteria 2, NAC in charge, Career Guidance and Placement Cell in charge for MBA, and a member of Research Committee of her institute. Her areas of interest are business analytics, human resource management, total quality management, and personality development. She has published around 40 articles in international, national journals, and books published in areas of human resource management, emotional intelligence, and personality traits, financial and entrepreneurship, and also co authored books in the areas of business analytics. She was invited as a guest speaker for NAC, Personality Development and Business Analytics sessions. Also attended around 30 workshops, refresher courses, training programs in various areas to improve quality of education. Dr. Suvachala ma'am has the experience of coordinating national workshops and outreach programs in her organization. She has been nominated as external internal quality assurance cell member at Andhra Mahila Sabha Arts and Science College for Women for the academic year 21-22 and 22-23. She has been awarded Best Presentation and Best Paper in the National Seminar on Revised NAC Framework, The Road Ahead Towards Excellence in Quality Education. She has also been awarded Sudhakoti Award for Excellence in Teaching, which is Best Teacher Award conferred by Bhavans Vivekananda College in November 2015. She is also the resource person for MSME Development Institute, Balanagar, Hyderabad, in association with Bhavans Vivekananda College for Science, Humanities, and Commerce. And in Entrepreneur Development Cell, delivered a session on steps in setting up a business in February 2022. And she has been resource person for Cherlapalli Industries Association, Secunderabad, on soft skills for personality development in December 2016. In January 2015, she has been the coordinator resource person for Cyberabad Commissionerate on Personality Development and Behavioral Skills Training Program. Ma'am, we are indeed delighted to have you among us today and looking forward to learn a lot from you, ma'am. Once again, we welcome you, ma'am, and we request you to take over the session.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the introduction. And once again, I would like to thank the team of St. Anne's Degree and PG College, Mallapur, for inviting me to be the resource person for this faculty enhancement program. So I'm really honored. So thank you and truly appreciate it from my side as well. So I'll start the session. Like yesterday's session, we had a introduction with respect to the analytics, and we also talked with respect to the with different models of analytics and also how it is applied, and we talked about various examples and situations and how it has really impacted the total business community as such. In today's session, it's little technical, but we have a diverse crowd, so I would make it little less technical. I will make it like as you know I mean, as simple as possible, so that it can help all of us to, have a grasp over this area. So here, before I start about predictive analytics, basically, I just want to show you certain examples. Just I'll share my screen. I request kindly, and just let me know if you're able to see the screen, please. Can somebody confirm?
Yes, ma'am, it is
Yeah.
visible.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, this is the roadmap which I'm going to follow for today's session. So, what are the what is predictive analytics? Because this is one of the advanced analytics. We have descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive, where descriptive concentrates on how the data has to be presented the way it is. And when we talk about cause and effect, or we talk about something which is impacting something else, so that you want to know the forecasting of based on your past data, how do you forecast your future events, then it's a amazing tool to work for with respect to the predictive modeling. And also the third which we discussed was prescriptive analytics, where it concentrates more on various constraints and subject to various situations you have, but still you have to make the best alternative. So that's something which is one of the highest modeling in terms of advanced modeling which we go about. But the number two, predictive analytics, is actually applied, which is an advanced analytics, because it provides a lot of insights. It not only talks about why what is happening, it also tells you in terms of how it's going to happen and why it is happening also. So there's so many, the 5 W's and 1 H, which we study in total quality management: why, when, what. So all these aspects are covered in our predictive analysis. So that's the reason it's a very high end modeling which we use. um, so here, the application of predictive analytics will be concentrating on, and if time permits, I will be showing certain examples in Excel, which is very, very where you can apply it in our. We all can apply it in our regular respective streams as well. So this is basically, a little prediction goes a long way. This is what we call it in general. With respect to the predictive analytics, we call it as a prediction effect. So here, how the forecasting would help us, because there's a lot of future is highly uncertain, and in this uncertainty, and there is a risk which is involved, still the prediction goes a long way, because even though 100% there is no accuracy with respect to the weather forecast, still the weather forecast makes our life much more easier. So that's the reason we have, this is a very important principle which we call it as a prediction effect, where prediction definitely would help us to minimize our risk and focus more on the in terms of your forecasting something which is uncertain in terms of the environment as well. I just want to start, before the session I would like to talk about few cases here, where these are like really, really we apply in various scenarios. So example, Netflix awarded 1 million to a team of scientists so that they can give the best recommendation systems where you can predict which movies which we really like, so this is something which Netflix really worked on. Internal self-managed groups and project teams were created where they constantly brainstorm, and the person who gave the best solution in terms of giving proper recommendation systems, they awarded $1 million to the team of scientists. So that's absolutely how the prediction happens. um, and absolutely, like I said, the Wall Street, firms actually trade algorithms are used right now, like, in terms of prediction of the stock market. So the buying and selling is completely based on the prediction of stock market, where algorithms, your machine learning languages are coming into picture. High end analytics will come, where they are a lot of algorithms which are set up so that you understand the patterns, so that you can predict your stock prices. We also have websites which pay per click for the advertisement, so they predict, like, which advertisement you're most likely to click, so that you can instantly choose the one, which one to show you. That is something which is, and they also a step ahead based on the advertisement click, what is your chances of you buying that particular product as well is happening. So that is also something with respect to the predictive analytics. And completely lot of insurance companies are using this and employ predictive technology, so that they want to establish the mortality rate of a risk of a particular individual, so that that also will help them to give the claims and benefits which are to be provided with respect to the life insurance. And this is with respect to our educational sector. It's like in Columbia universities, there are very few teaching assistants were employed. They actually created a cheating detection software, so that hundreds of homework submissions for plagiarism, they had a prediction, what is a high possibility that this student might go for a plagiarism, or how the software was very amazingly created by the internal teaching assistants or the faculty members. So that is something. And also, there is the various university researches is with respect to health analytics, which I'm talking about, where they detect patient schizophrenia. The way they speak the words, the transcripts of their spoken words alone would help to predict whether this patient might have or might get into the zone of schizophrenia. So these are some of the things which are really happening, in terms of the analytics, which is like prediction part of it. Like HP talk about the flight risk. Usually they did a lot of analytics in terms of the flight risk is nothing but your attrition, and the high possibility how that individual might quit the job, and how where and how do you take an action so that you want to avoid it, to avoid this kind of a situation. We also have Wikipedia. This is amazing actually, which predicts the editors who work for free, because they have lot of love towards writing, and you need to predict whether this editor is going to keep on writing, because this is a online asset, it's a priceless online asset. Because if there's a high possibility, just like our employee attrition, the person might quit their job. Similar to it, this particular editor who is basically working for free because they have passion towards the writing, uh, you know is there a possibility that this person might quit his service? So this is something which again you can predict based on his past kind of writing, any gaps in his types of writing, any changes in terms of his writing. So based on that, you can predict whether this particular individual will continue his service as well. The last but not the least, one of the example, this is only, these are few of the examples I've taken from various sectors. But we know, we have seen in, like, in terms of your crime, in terms of your the police analytics, which we talk about, the crime analytics. So the analytics are everywhere. We talked about this is here, the Ford is basically trying to detect And not just Ford, a lot of automobiles are working on it. A lot of analytics is used where the driver is not alert due to the distraction fatigue, and what might happen. So what is the possibility this might happen in our if you go to Shamirpet, you go to some areas, Bichuboli, there are during some areas, these areas during weekend, there's lot of patrolling which happens. A lot of police cars we keep seeing. Why does it happen? How did they predict that there might be an accident there? This is basically based on your video analytics. They collect the analytics or videos of the past data, more prone accident areas, more crime areas, so during weekend. So they do that, and they predict that that might occur again. So in order to avoid that, they actually go about having more patrolling or more cops or police cars monitoring the same. So this is exactly the analytics is like the predictive is one of the highest, one of the top most advanced analytics, which are truly very very important in the total setup. So I just want to know, like, whether are you able to hear me, please? Just some kind of yeah, excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. So here I'm just talking about these are the cases which talks about. So we are going in depth in terms of the concept. There's a very beautiful saying by Edward Deming, the topmost quality guru. He keeps saying that, in God we trust, but all others must bring data. It's always like we say that data driven decision making. That's the beauty of analytics. That's where know prejudice, no bias, no kind of intuition, just making decisions based on that not happening. It's always data driven decision making. And I just want to show you a small video. I just will try actually showing this video, and I request the the coordinator with respect to the session to kindly enable the chat for the audience for some time, because I would want some responses from them, please, if possible.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I'll just stop sharing and start sharing again with my tab. Um, just oh, this is a little funny kind of a session, but I mean, in terms of this video, which I truly liked it. But I request, can you see the video, please? Can you hear it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Hi,
Hello.
are you looking for econometrics?
Yes.
Author?
It's Damodar Modi.
There's no such author. You mean to say Damodar Gujarati?
Yeah, that one.
In that case, you have to check column 2, rack 4, and one copy left.
Wow, great. Thanks.
May I help you?
Wow, you again. Well, I like to borrow these books.
Your username?
It's Vignesh Esa.
No.
It's SIV.
No.
It's Jodani.
Fine, registration number.
It's BI89.
Your username is Vignesh89.
Wow, I meant.
Based on your limit, you're not supposed to take more than 3 books.
Oh, is it? Then I go for.
I suggest you take a book by Professor Dinesh because you're likely to read that book.
Well, certainly.
I suggest you take a book on econometrics because your assignment deadline is nearing.
Oh, is it? Thanks for reminding.
Fine, you got 2 books left, one on music and one on stats.
Of course, then I go for music.
Good, but I suggest that you spend more on academics because if you continue to spend more on extracurricular, you're likely to fail.
Oh, is it? I go for stats.
Can you confirm these 3? Pay rupees 38
Why?
because you submitted the book after due date.
Okay, then here's my card.
Thank you and congratulations.
For what?
Your results are out and you have cleared.
Wow, that's great news. How does he know everything about me?
Okay. So I request the faculty members to kindly let me know just in terms of what kind of the teaser video itself, it says that it's a predictive analytics. What are the things they could predict? It's such an amazing, very tiny, just 1 minute 56 seconds video, but it has a lot of in terms of the insights it gives you is very huge. So I just request a few of the members to kindly text with respect to what are the areas which you feel that there are a lot of analytics which is involved, because it's like a guy who just is browsing in the library. Suddenly there is a person who enters his interest, his academic performance. Yes, sir. Thank you. Absolutely right. What else? Yeah, absolutely right. He was his interests, and because he collected around 4 to 5 books, but at the same time, it's like a personal assistant. He's like a personal assistant. You have a PA with you. That person told him that not only his ID he forgot, because of he reminded what his ID is. He also said that what is the probability that his exams are coming here in the future based on his past data, and which assignment is coming up in the future. For that, which book he has to choose. Absolutely, sir, correct, John sir. In choosing of his content and his behavioral pattern, his hobbies, his academic performance, lot of variables we can see. In this only we can actually create a beautiful model with what is happening just now. So he was talking about his interests. He was also in terms of the outcome variable, we talk about the outcome variable. He trying to take the books in terms of what are the books he's planning to take. There are some variables which are impacting him to choose a particular book. So his style, his interests, or his academic performance in particular subject, or the score he's achieving, based on his score also you can choose a book. If he's already doing a great job, then you need not take book. And also the constraints are clearly given. What are the various constraints which are given? The constraints are, he has a test which is coming up so soon. Not only the test which is coming up so soon, but also he failed. There's a possibility that he might face very weak in econometrics, so he has to submit that econometrics and also the papers. And he has only one more constraint, that only 3 books he has to take, based on his books, whatever the policy of the library is. So this is something which is absolutely to the dot predictive analytics. And we have only one student's data, Vignesh data. But if you have a huge volume of students, definitely what are the factors which are impacting the students to choose a particular book, or choose a select kind of a books in terms of why they are choosing one book over the other, and what is making them choose the book, and is it really helping them to be successful after they are borrowing the book. So there's so many variables and relationships and associations we are able to see here. So this is a video which I truly loved it, and this is a small teaser made by IIM Bangalore. So which actually talks about how a person chooses has his choice, and based on his past behavior, how can you predict his future behavior. So that's something which is amazing. So yes, absolutely right, Krishna Priya ma'am. That is, he had to choose the 3 important books under his interest, based on the various constraints he had, and based on all the data which was presented. So that person is like a personal assistant. So he was surprised. The data is there. Nobody had to. You have your own data. How are we using those variables so that you are actually making a data-driven decision making? He can take any book, but why he chose those 3 books are very, very important. That's the beauty of your predictive analytics. So I'll just again open my PowerPoint presentation. Is it visible, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you, ma'am. So here, this is basically, it is a very, very advanced branch, and a lot of people say that I need to do optimization model, then only I'm pretty good. Otherwise, I cannot go about it. People have a feeling. It's not, you are. predictive analytics is one of the very good advanced analytics. People who are pursuing PhD, they feel that, predictive and regression is a very small kind of a tool, or hierarchical or logistical regression models. But absolutely, I would say one of the topmost analytics, I would say, is predictive analytics, because it's basically you're making some predictions about an unknown future events. It's absolutely brilliant. So here, a lot of data mining, which I will be talking in just some time, we'll be using is basically one of the predictive analytics, is a part of your data mining, because using your data mining, you will also predict your associations and patterns. Like yesterday I talked about the store layout, you can predict, or based on your past transaction, or purchase behavior of a customer, you can predict. You can predict anything and everything with respect to your data. If you have correct data, like we talked about, you have an objective, we have a data with respect to proper data you collected, the data, variety of data I talked about, structured or messages, whatever data you have, cleaning the data, which is very important. Then you model the data so that you want to understand the future behavior. So that's something which is really, really amazing, that you're predicting something which is with respect to the futuristic events based on your past data, which is amazing. So that's something which is really, really amazing. So here, whenever we talk about the analytics process, as I talked about in the prior, we have data, we have data. Just excuse me, please. So we are talking about data, and how are we predicting what is going to happen in future. There is a process which we have to happen. We're not just taking suddenly prediction happens. We have to take what has happened in the past, why that has happened in the past, what is happening right now, and what is going to happen in the future. So there's basically lot of elements which are involved. I'm not just concentrating. See, I want to purchase. I want to know the whether the floor size or age of a building is going to impact my value of the building, the assessed value of the building. Now, the floor size, the number of entrances, the age of the building, whatever you take, are your variables which are impacting your assessed value of the building. So, whatever data you have right now, the age of the building, the floor size of the building, using the correct data, I am going to make a prediction with respect to, are these variables impacting? If so, how are they impacting? So why, what are we are trying to do, both what happened, what is happening at present, and then we are predicting what is going to happen in future. So that's amazing. You're using all the varieties of data here with respect to our predictive analytics. So actually, we use a lot of statistical models. And, we have to create a lot of software. You have softwares which are, as I said, basic prediction of your regression analysis. If you want to use, or a trend analysis, you want to do time series data, you can start using with Excel itself. And then you want to go for a higher end models like neural networks or NLP and all that, then we have machine learning. You have different models which will help you. But the predictions are something which is really, really important, because you have to make decisions which are with respect to your future. But future is uncertain, but you still have to make decisions which are data driven. So that is something which is the catch amongst the total process. So here, as I said before, there are various steps which are involved. We have an objective. We collect the data with respect to that objective, which is about the present data and also the past data. And then we analyze the data. We use using various statistical tools, and we model it, create a model whether it is impacting, not impacting, and then we deploy this so that people actually use for in terms of in their organizations. Suppose I have a objective. My defined project is nothing but we have an objective. I talked about attrition rate, I talked about various elements. I collect my data regarding that, I clean the data, analyze the data using statistical methods, model the data, and then talk about the factors which are impacting the attrition rate of a company, people leaving the company, and I make a model and I say that A, B, C factors are important, and deployment of the same will happen, and based on that the decisions are taken. So this is a very, very, very systematic and structured process, and where anywhere there is any change which happens, or any kind of a issue happens at any one process, the rest of the process also suffers. So that's the reason it has to be done in a very, very systematic and structured manner by skilled analysts, in terms of the modeling. Now it's basically the how you predict the behavior. It's like exactly like your Sherlock Holmes. You have various we are all aware of our favorite detective personality, Sherlock Holmes. It's similar to that. You just look for various clues. You look for various situation because of which the event might have happened, and where you will be able to give the justification also why these factors are important in terms of a possibility that the event might occur in future as well. So here, the higher the predictive score, the more likely is that individual will exhibit that kind of a predictive behavior. So that's something we are trying to talk about, the various characteristics of an individual which will impact it, or in terms of the input and the output which are taken into consideration. Suppose if a person who sees a sales brochure, if I'm just looking at a sales brochure, how it is going to is there a possibility that this guy is going to buy a product tomorrow, is again a prediction. So basically today he just saw a brochure, but tomorrow is he going to buy a product because of the sales brochure is also amazing. That's absolutely called as a predictive analytics. So basically, whenever I talk about predictive analytics, there are two parts. So it can be applied in your education sector, health sector, psychology, finance sector, marketing, production, engineering, languages. It can be anywhere, wherever you are going about. It talks about the application in two parts, that is what's predicted and what's done about it. So these are the two important areas. Here, if you take into consideration the action, the event or happening, whatever is happening, to predict for each individual is basically very, very important. So, and also example, I would say, which ad each customer is most likely to click. This is what's predicted. This is a very important aspect. And what's done about it is you have to display the best ad so that there is a likelihood of a click which might happen in the future. So that's a very important aspect, and because of which he might actually go for a purchase of the product. So this is something which has to be looked about. Predictive analytics talks about what's predicted and what do we do about it. So we will be talking about a lot of examples. If I talk about Netflix, if I talk about the advertisements, if I'm talking about the um, web analytics, I'm talking about the HR analytics, I'm talking about the marketing analytics, in terms of the government analytics, everywhere, what do you want to predict, what's predicted, and what's done about it is also very, very important. So the action taken by the organization is the decision which are to be done in basically by each prediction whatever we make, what action has to happen. Compensation factors are impacting the employee attrition rate is one factor. Employees sentiments and emotions are impacting the attrition rate of the organization is another factor. So once you're done with the prediction, what decision you're planning to take is very, very important. That's the reason the action taken by the organization in response is a very important component. So that's something which is very, very amazing. So here we are our the total process doesn't end only with the prediction. Okay, we predicted that these variables are impacting, but what are we doing, what action we are taking is very important with respect to the prediction. Suppose See, I want to get some accreditation to our college, NAC accreditation and IRF, and some kind of funds which I wanted in our college. So basically, what is a possibility that I will be able to get my, what are the factors which will influence? How is your research? How is your curriculum? How is your student engagement programs? How are your placements? What are your best practices in your company, so organization? So basically, all these factors, are they impacting your prediction? So there is a possibility that my factors, main factors in my institution which are impacting the student satisfaction is, like, I may take like 2 3 factors, like based on my modeling. I collected the data. I found out that the factors which are influencing are my curriculum, beautiful courses I'm designing, my teaching learning of my fraternity faculty who are in the college, and also with respect to the student engagement programs which are impacting my student satisfaction or the NAC accreditation score. Suppose if I want to talk about, then I not only identify those factors but also have to take some action. So here, what do I do that in terms of me to improve my score is a very important aspect. So this is something which we talk about our prediction. You not only predict here, but also you for the prediction, what are the action you have to take is a very important aspect. So as I want to do, yesterday I was talking to John sir here. He was I have data till May 2022. I'm sure it's getting updated as well. The data science, business analytics, it's really going fast. If you look into it, data science, data analytics, business analytics, the analytics programs, there's a very huge in terms of people are really really trying to go for, and there's a very huge market for now analytics stream. So here, if you see, this is basically based on a survey which was conducted in an organization, few organizations, around 130 sample, 126 to 130. The predictive analytics, what is predictive analytics which is being used in your company now and 3 years from now. So these are the various areas which are talking about. So we have around direct marketing, retention analysis, optimization, econometric forecasting, fraud detection, and loan default, scientific. So there are various areas they have taken into consideration. If you see this, the where predictive analytics is being used right now, and also will use within the 3 years is happening. And still there is a chunk of people. This is basically the opportunities where still people need to capture, and I'm sure they'll capture soon, because otherwise will become, again, these people will become like Kodak company or a BlackBerry company, because there's still a huge market and they need to start engaging. At least they will use, and within 3 years is a good time, and right now they are using is amazing. But this is actually a market which has to really start working on it, because if they don't start working on it and then don't invest time and energy with respect to the analytics, then definitely it's going to be a very huge issues when compared to the competitors. The growth and the revenue and the cost, there is going to be a very drastic change with these organizations as well. So here, if you take about data, now what kind of data we use here? So, like, 98% of them are using structured data, and the demographic data, 77% are still using right now, and time series data, 65% of the population, organization, sorry, are using it. And web and geospatial and real time data, we have internet. These are basically unstructured data. If you talk about the text data, is completely unstructured data. Social media is also an unstructured data. So basically the data which we are getting, all these things are still being used. 21% data, the sensors and all machine generated data, 19%. So here, almost the percentage of data we are using maximum, even though it is structured data, but we are using a lot of unstructured data also for our analysis purpose. So here again, a lot of people are still planning to use within 3 years, and I'm sure a short a group of people are still not using or not plans to, don't know how to use it. So that's a market where a lot of awareness programs are to be conducted so that they are in the market for a long time. Sustainability. So again, there were questions which were asked with respect to what are your top big data challenges, and lack of skilled personnel we have, in terms of that's one important area. Understanding of predictive technologies, a very important aspect which is really making people really think about why, how to go about predictive analytics. And also budget is happening, and then their business objectives or cases are not strong enough, insufficient infrastructure facilities, and it's very hard to use. So basically we have various group of people who are the active part we are concentrating right now, that the skilled personnel, like we discussed here, understanding the technology. People should be having an amazing business acumen. They should also have good statistical knowledge and also good technology driven knowledge. So there's a combination which will make sure that the analytics works. So there's still challenges which are happening. And if you talk about the skills which are required with respect to the predictive analytics, the knowledge of business is actually playing an important role, in terms of how. That's the reason we said, once the objective of your business is formulated, rest of the story is a secondary issue. Because if your objective itself is not clear in terms of your business, then definitely you have great data, you have great tools, you have understanding of statistical knowledge, but your main business objective will not be achieved. Since we are talking about business analytics, there should be a sync. So your knowledge of business is actually shown as the highest 74%, the critical thinking 67, and the knowledge and understanding of the data and how to integrate it for model development. Because once you clean the data, first is understand your data, remove the outliers or any kind of unwanted data, remove it, and then clean the data and prepare the data. Then you need to go for your models. So this whole process, the understanding is also very important. And training in predictive analytics is a very important aspect. Communication skills and your degree and training in the software, but your knowledge of the business stands number one, which we actually thought about the same in the prior session also. So here, delivery of your predictive analytics. So basically, who do you expect will be using predictive analytics to the most? We have business analysts and analytics, statisticians, business users, IT developers. We have external partners or vendors, in terms of people who are actually software vendors we have. Then we also have the casual users like us, which just try to use it to understand the area where, for our own research and all also we go about. But also we have customers who are also using predictive analytics. So basically these are the various people who are associated. The business analyst is going into the top one. And so basically, which statement here talks about the operationalizing of predictive analytics? So for what purpose? Basically, you're using your business analytics, like we discussed. All of them are using to develop models for decision making. Here, the decision making is very prominent here, and also the second one, they are using. The models are actually built by the statistician and also the internal staff initially, and then it is operationalized as a part of a business process. So basically they are developing it themselves, and then they are using it as operational. They are basically operating as a part of their business here. So here, external partners are also designing it. External partners are also designing it, and then it is utilized for decision making. So there's a lot of combinations which we have with respect to who is basically used by the business analytics, who is using business analytics, and how we are trying to utilize it for decision making. So these are some of the areas. like I said, this is an amazing area which you really see a lot of things. You have survival analysis. This is a completely machine learning support, vector machines and all. So there's so many things which are there, neural networks and all. If you see all this, the basic simple linear regression is going at the top, which is amazing to the core. So here we have time series, cluster. Top five you take are the models which any of us can start working on it if we have basic analysis, or we want to learn about those areas, or something which we can do as a person from having knowledge with respect to our objective. So linear regression is going with the topmost. And also we have a decision trees and cluster analysis, similar patterns and identifying similar patterns. Here we go about clusters. And then time series are the amazing models based on your past time series data. How do you investigate your future? So these are some of the areas we talk about. um, we have various predictive analytics softwares which are being used, SAS, Statistica, IBM, MATLAB, SAP, Tableau R. So all softwares, some softwares really help us to do all our analytics. Some will only look about descriptive, like Tableau and all are more with respect to data visualization, which is a part of descriptive analytics. Some are very high in predictive. Tableau also, they are designing modules with respect to, on a paid basis, with respect to the associations and relationships that is impacting cause and effect. That's you have to create the normalization rules and data norms, so that you can understand whether this factor is impacting that, and if that factor happens, rest of the factors is it impacting the associations and relationships. Of course the paid version are going about, but these are one of few of the topmost predictive analytics softwares. And not to forget our own Excel, which MS Excel, which is also a very good tool in terms of analytics here. So here, whenever we talk about predictive analytics, so basically it has to be very thoroughly done. They should have thorough knowledge about the technology. They need to prepare and their data model ready, or a kind of a ready with respect to modeling, which takes around 90% of the time, data preparation. And so basically in providing the same data, and then you analyze the data, and then you have your own in-house staff to create models, or you're going to go for some vendors who will support you in terms of your analytics. So you have to decide. It's based on your own organizations, because there are pros and cons for both, but you need to decide. But ultimately we need to have the interpretation skills with respect to whatever outcome they are giving. The deployment is easy, because if you go to some ABC company who you have a problem, you want them to solve your problem, give you solutions in terms of recommendations for that particular problem. They will do all data driven, every aspect of it, what we discussed. Finally they will give you a kind, deploy your total outcome in terms of decision, and then the decisions, interpretation of those areas, what action to be taken, so that this problem will be sorted in the and this problem may not occur in the future, is completely with respect to the organization. That's the reason interpretation of the data decisions are very, very important, because you have to make call on the various actions. So this is something which is a very important area. I'll be talking about my techniques in my next area in terms of this concept. So, but I just want to quickly discuss with respect to. I just want to know, like, our till here it only concentrates on how analytics is formulated and different types of analytics, and where the cases we discuss with respect to few of the cases of analytics, how network, Walmart, various organizations are working. We also had a talk with respect to why predictive analytics is so important right now, and also we talked about the various surveys which are conducted, which are reiterating and re-emphasizing what we were feeling before, that analytics is something where it is a must right now. It's a need of the hour. And people, the percentage of people we are seeing that they are still have no plans or don't have any idea about it, it's a very important opportunity for them to understand that they need to come back. Otherwise it's going to be just it's they're going to basically go down in the market. So that's something which you have to go about. So it's always data driven decision making. I just want to have a quick understanding with respect to whether the pace with which I'm going, is it all right, please? I need just a small kind of confirmation regarding that. Yeah, thank you so much, John sir, Vishwas sir, thank you. Okay, now very quickly we will go with respect to the second part, which are the techniques of predictive analytics. So as the we can do SEM, structural equation modeling, we can do neural networks, and you can do a lot of decision trees and all. We have a diverse crowd here in our group, and how we are going to predict, I'm going to show you very few techniques which are like very simple techniques, but I'm going to, because of the diverse crowd, I will show you how it is done. First I'll go with the theoretical technique, then I'll show you the application of the same in just some time. But kindly let me know if you have any queries regarding the same, so that I can help you once the techniques are done. But as I said, it's a simple models I've taken. When we go for the top level and the high level modeling and the big data comes into picture, the way we go about it is completely different, because prediction, see, risk is there, risk which is, there's something which is uncertain, environment is there, but still making predictions based on the data you have. At the same time, you're not reacting to any situation suddenly. You know, आज हमारा इटरेशन रेट कम हो गया, बहुत बड़ा हो गया, you are seriously unhappy about it, and then you react suddenly, make a decision, is like, it's just a metric. You have a metric in front of you and you're reacting to the decision. That's not exactly what predictive analytics talks about. It talks about how to make sure this doesn't happen in the future. It's more of prediction. If these are the conditions which might happen in the future, if the attrition rate might happen, what are the reasons for which it might happen, what is the course of action I have to take in order to make sure it may not happen in the future. So it's very, very, very proactive and predictive in nature, rather than reacting to situations suddenly, and then that is short lived, and it doesn't meet your goals of your organization business objective. But because you take decisions at the spur of the moment, but if you take decisions now which might impact something in the future, so these decisions, whatever you take right now, might definitely help you, because you're taking the decisions based on your past data. Suppose compensation of an organization, working condition of the organization, and also the faculty enrichment of the organization. Is it impacting the people to stay in the institutions? That's what I want to do. Now, based on my past data and the present data, I found out that faculty enrichment and compensation on time is impacting very strongly with respect to people being part of the college or part of the institutions or part of the organizations or not. Now, this is based on my past data and present data, but I am actually using the same data, because there is an association which I say I'm going to use it for my future data also, making the variables constant. So that is something which you're going about. High probability, there is an association, and how are you going to do the same? So this is something which we talk with respect to the prediction. And I'll just start sharing once again. So kindly let me know if you're able to see the screen, please. Yeah, thank you. So we have various techniques of predictive analytics, which I'm going to talk very briefly. uh, the most prominent, I would say, one of the most prominent, the top 5 techniques is your trend analysis. Basically, based on your current or the historical data, the past data, how do you predict your moments of an item? So this is something which is very, very important. Like I have, like last 10 years or last 5 years, my sales have been like this, like going up and down. Whatever it is, your sales going up, your sales going down, again up and down. Based on my past 10 years data or 5 years data, how am I going to predict my future sales is a very important aspect. That's the reason what has happened, what is happening, and what might happen, there is a sync which we are seeing here in terms of predictive analytics. So if you talk about it, so there are two variables. I just want to share, any point of time whenever we go for modeling, the identification of your variables, what variables are impacting your predict in terms of your outcomes, the predictors which are impacting your outcome variable is a very important aspects. What are the predictors? Predictors, we call them as independent variables, and how changes in the independent variables will let your outcome variable change. Example, compensation, training and development, or we have working conditions of an institution. Is it impacting your the decision of employees leaving the institution? So here the three variables are your predictors which are impacting your outcome variable, which is your dependent variable. So this is a very important area where identification of your variables are very important. People say brand awareness and also consumer buying behavior, brand loyalty and purchase behavior. So here if you talk about in terms of marketing stream, we are talking about that area. Personality traits of a person impacting the education, the student performance of a person, or the teacher achievement based on the personality factors of a teacher, like how the personality of a teacher. The personality of a teacher is your independent variable, is a predictor which is impacting your dependent variable with respect to your teacher's performance. The outcome variable is always a dependent variable. In terms of your pricing strategies, in terms of your attrition rate, in terms of customer churn, which we talk about, every and any variable we talk about, or optimization models, the outcome variable is always a dependent variable, and independent variables are your predictors which might impact your dependent variable. That's the whole game here. So that is how your data which you get, based on your objective, your identification of your variables are very important, and based on your identification of your variables, I have to start collecting the data. Example, I want to understand the impact of social media among the youth here. I want to understand the impact of social media among the youth. I want to understand the awareness levels of financial literacy, basically impact of financial literacy on the financial planning of the of a particular investor. So if you're talking about these areas, your independent variable is your predictor, and it will impact your dependent variable. That's the total game. Now I want to, what is my objective? The financial planning. I want to study the financial planning here of a particular investor. What is their behavioral patterns? How do they plan? What is their thought process? So now when I want to do that, so first I have to decide on my variables. So for that, what are my predictor variables? I have decided. What is my the explanatory, that is a dependent variable and independent variable, I have decided. Now my financial literacy, is it impacting my dependent variable? I am the timings of your what do you call it, as a working environment of your college, of my college, is it impacting the students attendance rate, or student absenteeism rate, or student retention rate is also a factor. So what are we doing here? We are identifying our predictors which are impacting our dependent variable, and your independent variable starts to change. Your dependent variable, is it changing, is what is the association we are talking about. And because if it is happening right now, we are predicting that this might happen in the future as well, because past data we have taken, the current data we have taken, and how are we impacting the future data. So basically these are the three important areas. So the first, your objective, based on that your factor identification happens in terms of your variables, and then we actually collect the data, clean the data, and then we model the data. If there is an association, if there is an impact, these variables, there will be an impact in the future also. That's what we're trying to tell. Because thus also we have done that, there's a high probability or possibility, based on the various constraints we have, this might occur in the future as well. So that is again, unless and until a very strong, like a COVID event happened, a disaster or a crisis happened, usually the trends are more or less accurate. But unless and until a uncertainty is very crisis, or something which is drastic, suddenly recession booms, and suddenly some crisis happens, suddenly a calamity happens, that time there will be change. But unless and until, if we are taking all those variables as constant, like situation is, conditions are constant, then the prediction is pretty anticipatory. We can anticipate the prediction. That's the reason I'm sure if you're teaching in terms of your finance and all, we also have grow calculators, investment calculators. If you pay, if you start investing this amount, how much in I can invest post, if 20 years I invest this amount, after retirement how much I'm going to make it. These conditions, based on your investments, are almost more or less the same. So that's the reason the prediction is a very important aspect in an uncertain environment in our life. So whenever we talk of trends are something which are very important, like a time series analysis. That's what we talk about here. We have in our scope, I'll just confine to three trends right now. One is we are linear trend, and second we talk about in terms of so what am I doing, Jan to May. Suppose we just take from, see, if we have taken from Jan to May, so we took from Jan to June here, suppose for a particular year, what is my prediction for the next sales, next 6 more months is a very important aspect which I have to do. Here, based on the data you have, I'll show it in just few, in some time, with respect to my regression, and also my trend lines and all, how your data is basically, is there a based on your past data, whatever data points you have, past data, are you able to predict your future data, is we are trying to find out. Here the trend linear is something which talks about a straight line. Basically, is there a continuous rise or is there a continuous fall in the data? So basically, Abhi, you have a rise or is there a fall in data, we talk with respect to the linear trend line. And we, how do we do a prediction for that? This looks good, ma'am. I mean, you can just say that ये तो linear है, you have the linear score. There's this particular variable of sales and time series data which you are taking into consideration. Your independent variable is a time, in terms of your time here, and or in terms of your years we are talking about here, and your dependent variable is your sales. Impact of based on the time is your sales changing. Here we are talking about the same area. Now, is the time actually significantly showing you, or giving you or providing you that impact here in your, because change in your time, is it impacting your sales, is something which you are talking about here. So if you see this, I'm going to test here we are using another word here is called as, which is R square. Here it talks about how much variance of the data, the change in the data is explained by the model. The higher the variance it is explaining, it shows your model is a good fit model. Usually the R square value, which whatever we use here, just we let us understand what is this R square. R square is basically we use this value to explain the variance of the data in basically with respect to that model. It will be between 0 to 1. If your model is 1, if your R square is 1, it shows a perfect fit in terms of, that is directly sales perfectly will is impacting your, the variance of the data is explained by this model. If it is usually what we prefer is 0.7 to, is like is a good number with respect to prediction. Financial data you might go with respect to 0.8, 0.9, but behavioral studies, whenever we do some kind of a surveys and we get the data and we try to go for the data, 0.5 to 0.7 is a decent number, because higher your R square value, it shows that there is a kind of a multicollinearity which exists between the variables. Matlab, your variable 1, your variable 1 of compensation factors, your variable 2 of your working condition, your variable 3 with respect to your training cost, or whatever is a third variable which you are taking to consideration, is impacting the attrition rate. Suppose if your R square is between the variance of the data, if it is good in terms of these three variables are explaining the impact here, which shows around 0.6, 0.7, it's a very decent score. But if your variance shows around 0.9, even though we say 0 to 1 is perfect fit, 1 is a perfect fit, we say that 0.9 if you get, example with respect to a behavioral studies, then it shows that maybe there is an association between compensation and working conditions, or working conditions and with respect to your training cost, whatever are your independent variables, there might be association because of which it is coming to a higher level. So that's the reason in your financial data, numerical data, non-behavioral studies, your value should be, if it is 0.9 or so also, it is valid. But if your values for behavioral studies, if it is 0.9, you have to test your multicollinearity. That means everything is there is the variable and the data collection and people marking the data, there might be outliers because of which there might be multicollinearity, because everybody puts 5 rating to everybody, when these kind of issues happens without thinking if people just fill the data. So these are data errors which might happen. So but for our point of time, the first technique is our time series data based on our time. Is there any kind of are you able to predict that variable changes based on the time? If so happening, is it going to happen in the future? We are going to determine based on our R square. So here linear talks about continuous rise or fall in the data. Here if you see, there is a continuous rise which we are observing. The second part of it which we are talking about is a polynomial degree, which actually talks about one rise and one fall. I'm talking about 2 degree here. There should be one rise and one fall. If you see here, it's like a mountain and a valley, it's something like that, you will have this shape. So then this is what we call it as a polynomial trend line. So there are different types of trend lines based on which you will decide how you're going to predict your variables. First is what we call it as a linear trend line. second, what we call it as a polynomial trend line. So these are very technical here, but for our purpose, we can just understand that time series data, using time series, you can predict based on your past 5 years. I can predict how the next 5 years is going to be. And how are you going to decide that? Based on your R square value, which is talks about the variance of the data is explained by that model. Higher the variance is explained, the better is the prediction or the model kind of validity. So here another variable which we have is what trend line, we call it as the exponential trend line. So if you see this here, the how the entire wild tiger population is decreasing. If you see here, it is decreasing at an increasing, it's not linear, it's an increasing rate, it is decreasing. So this is something again is a very important aspect which you are talking about your exponential trend line. So it's in an increasing rate, it's basically kind of a decreasing. So here population growth or decline in wildlife population, we are usually, this often is used in your sciences, you know, in terms of your human population growth or decline. So similar to that we try to go about. So here just a quick recap, I have three trend lines. Trend line analysis, or we use it for time series data. So the predict the movements of an item based on the time series. You know, 2020 this was the data, 2021 this was the data, 2020 15 is the data, 2025 what might be the data. So that's a prediction which you're going about. The prediction only can be seen based on our R square value. So I just request a quick kind of I just want to know whether um, I mean, is it okay? Is it clear to what extent? Is it clear, please? Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. So basically, we have an option. This is a very, very simple example I'm just talking about with respect to your first kind of an analytics which we use. The second I'll just so I'm just going to talk about John sir. I'll get back to you on this particular front just in a while. So I'll just show quickly with respect to my trend. So I have certain data here in terms of my year and my sales here. I just select the trend in Excel. It's a very simple model. I'll just show you. We have year and sales from 2018 to 22. I want to go for my prediction. So I just go for my insert and recommended chart. I just went with respect to my trend chart. This is with respect to my line chart I have designed. I'm just going here. This is basically the chart we have. So I just hope that it is clear. Yeah. So here, if you are seeing this trend, we don't know whether this course of our time, this up and down which is happening, is it going to impact in our future? How do I know the prediction? 2022 tak to I know. 2025, 2024, will it impact or not impact? I want to know. I'll just do with a linear trend, very simple. So what I do is I just select it, okay, and go with the right click. I add a trend line, which is a trend which is happening here. And now I have in the right hand, we have format trend, and it's a basic simple Excel. You can do amazing analysis whenever you have data with respect to your time series data. You have to do, you can do, we can ask our students to do also behavioral patterns we can do, or we can talk with respect to the numericals. If you talk about the linear, I just clicked linear. And we have an option which is given here, display equation. So, and then I have a display R square value on the chart. If you see this, the R square value, if you see this is basically a regression equation. Y is equal to X plus B. Okay, so if you look, because it's only one variable which we are talking here, one is your time independent variable, one is your dependent. Such a reason it's a simple linear regression. Your R square is 0.8. If you see this 0.8, if you see this, I'm just saying without the trend line, if you don't see the trend line, you just see this diagram, please. If you see this diagram, if you see this, we cannot predict whether, there's a significant model or not. How can I make a prediction? Because it's just things which are going up and down. How I know this model is significant? I know this model is significant because my R square is 0.8. R square between 0.5 and 0.8 to 9 is a good model in terms of your sales and projects and all, in terms of profits and all. So it's a greater than 0.7, and it is greater than, actually we take into consideration greater than 0.5 is a decent number. So we have 50%, 80% of the variation is explained by this model. In terms of this variable is impacting the change in this variable 80% of the time is explained by this model. So that's the reason definitely I would like to choose for this is a prediction model. In the future also, you can predict based on your time series data. You can go for your prediction with respect to your sales value. So this is something which I take into consideration in my future. So this is a very amazing tool which we use with respect to your time series data. But some people ask me, ma'am, why do we have to, there is again an option which we have. Suppose you want to make a choice between which option is more suitable. Is it a simple linear trend, or is it a polynomial better option, or is it an exponential which is a better option? So what I can do is I can do the same thing here. I can go with the polynomial. If you see this, polynomial I'm going about, the R square value seems to be a little higher. Okay, and when you talk about take into consideration the exponential values, it is coming to only 0.7462. So what we have to do, which is a better fit model for this? So you can make a decision based on your R square value, whether it is a exponential which you want to go about, or whether you want to go for a polynomial, which is almost, it's going with a if you see the graph, see this just if you look into linear and stop, the prediction might not be so accurate. So you have to give it a shot. Whenever we go for time series data, try with other 2 to 3 models also, so that based on that, even though 0.8 sounds appealing and we say wow, it's fine, but 0.85 is much better than 0.8. So that's the reason you can make a model fit. There is a model fit that's 100% sure, whether it is an exponential fit, or whether it is a linear fit, or whether it is a logarithmic fit, or whether you're talking about a polynomial. You have to make a choice in terms of based on your R square value. Because why we are saying R square value? R square value will show the variation in terms of this particular data, which will explain the model in a better way. So this is what we are trying to talk about here. So just for our purpose, what we'll do, we will take the time series data. We will based on the past 5-6 years, how do I predict my future is something which I'm going to take into consideration. Now I'll just quickly go with respect to my other areas. Yeah, so here if you talk about this particular data, like a trend analysis, we also have regression. If your regression you're doing with the one variable independent and one dependent variable, the one which we discussed in terms of time series data, that's like a simple regression model. But if you're using like a cross-sectional data, one time period you're taking with respect to a lot of variables, and attrition rate at present, attrition rate we are calculating right now, and what are the factors which are influencing attrition rate, I'm doing at one point of time right now, then definitely that's a cross-sectional data. Time series data is basically based on the prior data. So here we have a model. Again, we can talk about this model. Is there a change in your independent variable? Is there a change in your dependent variable? This is basically I will talk to you with respect to a square feet of a building. Is it impacting the value of a building, assessed value of a building? So I just want to predict in the future also. I want to know whether the variables which are happening right now, is it impacting the variables in the future. So this, if you take into consideration, if you take this into consideration, if you see this, your R square value is basically 0.53, which is above 50%. To a certain extent, I can take this because 50% of the variation in the data is explained with this model in terms of the square feet variable is impacting my dependent variable. What is my dependent variable? It is the assessed value of the building. So, and my significance F in terms of ANOVA is also pretty good. It's less than 0.05. In Excel, what happens is if the cell value is more than the, in terms of stipulated cell size, then it will show the e to the power of exponential to the power of 0. That shows like 0.0000. It's almost close to 0. So there's a beautiful significance which you see, and also the square feet p values you're seeing significance. So it's a beautiful model where the square feet of a particular apartment, is it impacting the assessed value of a building? It's only one independent variable and one dependent variable I have taken into consideration, one variable impacting my dependent variable. If you talk about, as I said, your R square value is a very important value, and it will tell you how your data is, and your regression line and your line is fitting the data, and how your your independent variable, your dependent variable variation is explained by your independent variable. So that's something which is very, very important in terms of change in your IV independent variable. Is it impacting a DV? So this is basically the knowledge basic area with terms of your simple regression. We have one independent variable, one dependent variable. In multiple linear regression, we have more than one independent variable which is impacting on our dependent variable. So this is what we are talking about. The first model I talked about is based on time series data. I just showed you how based on R square you can decide. It's an amazing model where we can help our students also to make projects with taking time series data. There's so much of data which is time series data which is available for HR, finance, marketing, and you can take the students, just put them in the graph and tell them which is a better fit model based on their R square, so that you can explain it. The prediction is much more high because there's a relationship which might exist. So here, as I said, multiple regression, we have two or more IV we have. And so basically change in the dependent variable when your IV independent variables are changing is what we are trying to talk here or take into consideration here. So I'll just show you how it is. See, if you see this, your adjusted R square value, I have taken not just the square feet here, but I'm taking the various variables here. If you see the floor space, the number of offices in a particular area, the entrances in a particular building, and the age of the building, all these variables are they impacting your assessed value of a building, is what I'm trying to impact. If you see this model, because you real estate, they use this a lot here, the predictions, the floor space, the offices, the entrances, and the age of the building, is it impacting the assessed value of the building? If you see this, your R square is very high, 0.1, almost close to 0.2. It's a beautiful fit which you're talking about. The variance in the model is very high in terms of the ANOVA which you're talking about is explained well, and all your variables, it's a significant value. Your p value is showing less than 0.05, which shows the value significant. So based on your data, if a new floor size comes into picture, if the number of officers, the new number comes into picture, different combinations I'm talking about, I used based on certain combinations, but I want to use it with other combinations since it is impacting here all four of them. Now I'm going to basically calculate so I can predict my future as well. I'll just show you right now with an example. I just request can you kindly let me know whether you're able to see the my Excel sheet, please? Can somebody kindly respond, please? Excel. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll just show you an Excel sheet right now so that you have a basic idea what I'm trying to talk about. I did a regression for this with the data of this. So basically, this is my data. I'll just show you with a simple example how, like John sir was saying that, there might be calamities, there might be issues, there might be problems, but that's the reason you have to anticipate the trend. Based on the stock market, suddenly, based on your past data, you can predict. That's beautiful. But suddenly, economy meltdown happened, recession is happening right now, the real estate market is down, that time you cannot actually consciously, you cannot make that prediction, so you have to wait back, because there's certain market conditions also plays a major role in this whole prediction game, because we cannot just go with the face value of it. You need to understand the conditions, how you choose your variables, how you understand the market, and how you understand the conditions, and then you have to take a call. Just blindly because it happened before, I also want to do the same, might not happen before, because post covid, the things which were happening pre covid, the things which are happening post covid, we ourselves as a faculty members, we have a significant difference. We see how our students used to sit in our class, how the students used to have the attention span, how the students used to listen to our lectures, how the students, the behavioral aspect of it. COVID, after COVID, there's a very significant change in terms of the classroom behavior, the attention span. I just need some confirmation. Do you agree or no? I mean, kindly let me know if you agree with me with respect to the behavioral patterns of our students in some way or the other. So basically, we are observing that. Definitely, we are doing it. We are trying to observe it. So it's very, very important from us to identify that, you can't use the same prediction what happened before and then try, even though you know that you can't keep pushing the students, because there are certain changes which we have to do right now in order to get the engagement levels from the students. I did last time 10 years like that. So the 15th year also it was working out well, but 16th year some other changes are happening. Then you have to again start identifying the new factors and go with the same, and that might be the prediction with the new thought process. So that's the reason, whenever there is a trend change which is happening, we are trying to use modeling to reduce the risk, but there are still little risk which is involved, but you need to understand the conditions which are prevailing as such. So coming back to the topics, because I have 30 minutes time left, I just want to tell you that I have taken, these are my independent variables, these are my IV which are impacting my assessed value of a building. Now I just took a small data, 11 sample size, around this sample I have taken. Now based on that, my variables, there is a, when I run the regression, it is showing that it is highly significant. All the variables are impacting my dependent variable, that is my value of the building. Now, my next, suppose I want to know, that is my prediction. This red is the prediction which I want to talk about. How will I predict? In the next 5, I have another variable which is like my floor space is some other number. My offices may be 50. In the future, my entrances might be around 8. My age of the building might be some other number. How am I going to understand my assessed value of the building? Because of your impact which is there, that's a prediction which you're talking about, because based on the past data, there is an impact which you see. All the 4 variables, if you're able to see here, are significantly impacting your dependent variable. The dependent variable is your value of the building. Now, based on this, I created a equation, that is ax plus by plus cc. You are actually creating a variable where I said m1 x1 plus m2 x2 plus m3 x3 plus m4 x4 plus b. Now what I do is, once I create the equation and I substitute my values based on my regression output, this is very technical, just have an understanding that we created an equation based on the data of our present data and the past data. We have this data with us, and we say that there is an amazing association which I'm telling, that all my variables, 4 independent variables are impacting, changing this. My value of the building also starts to change. I created an equation basically a regression equation, which is a straightforward. We actually substitute our values here from our multiple regression equation. If you are substituting here, then using that equation, I can substitute my 27.64 into my office space can be a new space here my number of my age of the building can be something new here. My when you talk about our what do you call it as entrances can be a new number here. So I substitute my values here. It is a prediction till the real estate market goes drastically down, something crazy happens again, you can go for your prediction. So that's the beauty of our predictive analytics. So here, the prediction part of it is how are we doing our prediction is a very important area. So what we do for our prediction, I just go for my data in Excel. We have a data analysis. Otherwise, you just go and just go for your add-ons with respect to your data analysis, and then go for your what do we call it as options, then add-ons, and then you will get a data analysis package. You just go for your data analysis. I went for my regression. You have various tools. These are the amazing statistical analysis which you can do, and descriptive statistics and all that are your descriptive analytics you have, and regression is your descriptive predictive analytics. I went about my I just clicked OK. I got a dialog box. My input range, I'm going to put my input range as Y. Y is my dependent variable. Okay, and X is the independent variable of floor space and all. I just went about it. I want my labels on my top of my research output, that is my summary table. Output range, I can put it in the next sheet, or I can put it here somewhere close by. So let me just try. I'll just put my output somewhere. There is no clash in the data. Let me just go. And I will click OK. So you saw your summary output in a flash. So this is the beauty here. We don't have to, because the data, we are assuming the data is already clean data. I have my R square, I have my significance F. And if you talk about my P values, all my P values are more or less significant, because E talks about exponential, as I told you before. It is like E is like 0.0006 exponential, the power of 8, you're talking about here. So that's something, since it is all significant, my equation will have these all 4 areas, and then you can substitute. If a new data gets new values you want to update, your data gets basically updated here. So here your data gets updated. Your assessed value also you can predict in the future. It can be 25, because my age of the building is only till here. I can go for 52, I can go for 65, I can go for 150 years building. The age, your choice, and based on that your value of the building can be predicted. So this is the beauty of our regression analysis. So again, change in our independent variable. Is there a change in terms of your dependent variable? Is there a significant impact we are trying to talk about? So here we have to construct a model with a lot of variables. Based on your objective, you identify your variables, and based on variables you choose the data, you clean the data, you do your analysis, and then you predict based on the modeling which you do here. So that's something which we take into consideration. So logic is a very important. That's the reason whenever we in our research articles as faculty members we write, the reviewer keeps telling, give us the based on which model you're trying to come up with this kind of a variables. So there should be some kind of a model in terms of some kind of an area where you choose, or some kind of you have to choose a kind of variables which are very important for us, which will dictate logic here. So that's a very important, and it's very important with respect to the sometimes your experience and your judgment also plays a certain extent, in terms of your thought process, which variables to take into consideration. This is a third technique which I want to do. First technique is your time series, how we based on R squares. Similarly, based on the significance, you are predicting your regression, which is a very, very advanced predictive analytics. The third we talk about is called as data mining. Data mining we use basically using terms of understanding the patterns and all. Like I told, first is your understanding of our business, then we have understanding of our data, and then we go for our data preparation. Like I talked about cleaning of the data, any missing data we have, how do you fill the data. There are various techniques for that as well. So the total, when you talk about data analytics and data science as a profession, they work more on the this part of it, the data preparation part of it. Then we use the models based on our objective, like whatever we want, and then your patterns are identified, and then basically you can deploy it in your to everybody everyday business operations, that is on a day-to-day operations you can work on it. So in terms of your outcome of your data mining, so that's the reason I said, we do a lot of mining of data. That's an important step where it will help us to understand the associations and patterns. These are some of the important techniques. In that, we already discussed regression and prediction, which happens here. We have like classification. Basically, you create some training data, and also you classify and use that as a base for. Suppose if I have I make a kind of training data. What is this training data? It's like a pilot study. We do a small data where we will try to find out like combinations, if then statements we use. If ABC person is this age group and his income levels is this much, and what is it probability of us to, is it a good decision to sanction loan to him? It's a risky decision, not risky decision. You have to make some kind of a training data, and you can use that same training data to classify the other data. So we have various techniques here. The other technique which I wanted to talk yesterday was the association technique. That association was I talked about. When I buy chips, am I buying cool drink also? Am I buying whenever I go to buy my child's milk bottles and milk packets, am I buying diapers also? There's an association between two or more items. Whenever I'm going to buy pizza, am I buying some beverages as well? So basically the association, the pattern which is happening, hidden patterns which happens in the data set, which is not very clear in front of you, we use a lot of rules here. And also we try to go about outlier detection, which I talked about in the last class, like last session. Like we talked about there's a gender data, there is a lot of data where there is some error which is happening. How do you identify there's some fraud which is happening? There is a detection in terms of unexpected behavior. Suddenly you have a question, what do you call it, as questionable IRS returns, in terms of income tax returns, ITR returns. So you will suddenly understand that there is some kind of an outlier which is happening other than your expected pattern. Then definitely you can, this is called as the outlier. So these are some of the techniques which we use in identifying in terms of your data mining. And it's very profitable. It will help you in decision making pattern process, and hidden patterns are identified. It's very fast because whenever we talk about the big data, especially because the data preparation, you do it, and then the way you get the output is very, very fast. Hadoop, Splunk and all we go about. But there are challenges also. This is almost the
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
There is a question in chat box, ma'am. Would you like to answer it now or later, ma'am?
Okay, I'll just check very
Sure,
quickly.
sure.
Because I'm almost in the fag end of the presentation. Basically, yeah, I'll just explain to you in just a second. Let me finish this and then I'll go with the same. It just takes hardly another 5 minutes. Then next few minutes we can work on the areas. So
Yes.
as I said, we have a lot of data mining techniques and tools, which is an ocean which we have. But it's basically we are using this predictive analytics. Like the first slide I talked, education sector, plagiarism, behavior, healthcare and all. But there are some challenges though, because there's so many tools and techniques, choosing the right software, choosing the right tool, and company privacy issues might be affected also, because you're taking help of a vendor or so. So it's, there are certain sequences or consequences in certain conditions. Sometimes, you, as we said, John sir was also talking about, there are calamities, there are issues. Sometimes it's not accurate, because suddenly, you need to be smart, you have to be vigilant, you need to understand also that you cannot make the same prediction if things are changing dramatically. So that's something where, again, new set of data collection, new kind of a area and new kind of a situations, and then again take those considerations, and then again new predictions will happen. Otherwise, the way we were before, the way we are right now, is keeps changing. The way we are right now, the way we are going to be next also, it keeps changing. So that's the challenge. And as I talked about, it's basically an amazing analytical technology. It has established business value. They are not just using it because it's a good model, but it's really shown the industry growth here, and people are really working with respect to the predictive analytics. It's pervasive, it is everywhere as a business practice in terms of the total analytics field. So these are some of my references which I looked about. And yeah, I just had a small activity, but I don't know whether I'll be able to do it right now. But let me just see the question and answer session. I'll just post it. If you can see it, you can definitely work on it, and just see. This is basically the in menti.com I post. Any sector, whichever sector, whatever area you might meet, you can it's like, whichever sector you want to take, whichever area, whichever person, psychological, personal, professional, you can take anything and everything, whatever you want to do in anywhere you want in your life. Can you see the can you predict something? Like, I want you just give it a shot with respect to your IVs and DVs. In any situation, you can give me, like, the factors which are influencing certain factor. What is your IV factor and what is your DV factor? If you can give it in this particular menti.com, I highly appreciable. I just posted it in the group right now. You can go to menti.com also, and and then you have a ID also for that, and you can just click it. 2684, I think it's the 2684 7671. You can just directly click, and you tell me one variable IV and one variable which might impact DV. It can be anything in our personal life, professional life, business life. Just the identification of the variable. Just I request you to kindly give it a shot. Any factor which is impacting any other factor. It can be the behavioral, it can be the psychological, it can be in terms of any stream, it can be in terms of our educational sector, it can be in our home, it can be anything. I just want you to just try with respect to impact of this on that, please. Okay, coming back to the question. Let me just check the question, please. Yeah. With the trend line, can we arrive at future sales? Can we predict using Excel, not stopping it at saying it is a good fit? It's a very important aspect, because you see the trend line. If you have a it's a very good question, actually. If you see the trend line, I'll show you the trend line just now in a second, the one which we discussed just now. But I request the other faculty members to kindly give it a shot. It's something which is fun. Your IVs and DVs, I just want to see, if possible, at least couple of them, please. Or you can post it in our chat window also. That will be fun, because identification of variables, like so that you can predict your is something which we look about. I'll show the example, ma'am. Sucharita ma'am, I'll just show you one small example. It's very important to go for R square. That is something everybody has to be aware of. I'll tell you why. Because this I mean, are you able to see the screen, please? Can somebody just give me some confirmation? Okay, I'm actually into the full screen mode, so somebody should tell me, I guess. Yeah, thank you so much, John sir. Pallavi ma'am, thank you. Thank you so much for responding. Okay, let me just go back here. Yeah. Yeah, see, if Sucharita ma'am, if you're there is a amazing kind of an increase which is happening here. It's a linear trend. It looks very elegant and it is directly understandable if there is a continuous rise or continuous fall in data, because your numbers are very, very amazingly linear in nature. But there is a possibility that I'll show you the trend which we did it just some time ago. Just I took a very basic trend. Um, yeah. So here, if you see, um, you fit the trend line. I'll just go for linear. Okay, this looks perfect. Okay, but there might be a better fit model also. Without your trend here, if you put your R square value, the variation in the model is amazingly explained by various areas, whether it is a logarithmic trend or it is a polynomial trend, because these are the equations. Just like I showed you the R square equation, the substitution of the values will happen: power, moving average. So you go for your linear is good enough, but for our studies, whenever we go, it is better to go for your linear polynomial, which is the most used models. Amongst this linear and polynomial also we can have order 1, order 2, order 3, that is based on your data. Order 2 is a decent kind of an order. There's again a lot of studies regarding that. If you do it, your R square, higher the R square value, the better is a model. And you using this model, because where we will stop, we just stop till our trend line and we stop there. But how are you going to show that this way is a amazing model? You have to give your R square, and your equation is also is a very important aspect, because based on the present values, these are the data which you have. Based on the future values, what is your y is going to be? So that is something which you have to look into consideration. So definitely I would suggest, initially I used to follow the same like you were talking about, ma'am, but it's always advisable, I would say, to go with respect to your R square, because that the variation is explained very well. um, I hope I cleared the, with respect to this, ma'am. Sucharita, ma'am, is it clear? Yeah. So basically, questions on by Reena. When it comes to psychology and collecting big data, is artificial much intelligence much used, or predictive analytics are used? Basically, whenever we talk about artificial intelligence is basically, how do you use your basically machines in order to go with respect to your outcome analysis. Your personal assistant is your artificial intelligence. Definitely there are a lot of especially with respect to the behavioral studies, it's the artificial intelligence, even though you use, there are some challenges, but again, as I said, there is always should be a combination predict in terms of your AI, which is completely machine based. And also we have to, because the identification of your factors is completely done by us. Basically, your artificial intelligence with your human psychological, basically, not just the brain we are talking about, but also with respect to your emotional interactions which happens, and all that combination would help us out better, rather than just concentrating on artificial intelligence, because the human psychological cognition is also very, very important. And only the brain part of it doesn't work, because you have to reproduce the heart aspect also, the perceptual thinking, the emotional interaction. So basically that's the reason your digital financial, in terms of your instruments, nowadays everything is digitalized, you can go about it. Still there are a lot of research which is happening with respect to the human element of it. So alone artificial intelligence is absolutely, I don't think is enough, but definitely, yeah, we have to use artificial intelligence with the human cognition will definitely, because the algorithms are to be created, like your personal assistants and all. But yeah, so basically there should be an intersection of your machine learning, your psychiatry is basically, so that your personalized your mental health care which is being created, or for your there's a combination of things which are to be done. So how you feed the data matters a lot, so that's again a data driven decisions. So it should be a supplementary rather than uh, uh, you know um, just concentrating on what do you call it as yeah, so we have to go about in both the areas. That's my game here. um, um, Ma'am, actually neural analysis is I haven't done much about the neural analysis part of it, but it's basically it is also a lot of algorithms are designed. That's what to that extent, because I haven't worked on neural analysis, high end modeling I didn't do yet, but it actually has a very amazing way to imitate the brain's way of working. So here lot of variables, lot of data is basically is really working regarding that. And especially in the psychology field, this is basically used for human, how how a brain operates and all. And but it is again data, how you feed the data. You basically how are you teaching your computers, so that it will process the data like in the way you want your the way your brain is processed. So it's basically, it's a very deep learning, we call it as, in terms of a machine learning, we call this as a very important deep learning. So they use a lot of algorithms, and lot of data gets inputted, and it is inspired by your our human brain. So there are a lot of nodes, neurons, and that resembles a human brain. And they have lot of patterns, lot of associations are tested using computers, so that the outcome is like similar to brain. So that is what it is. Yeah, but I haven't worked on that, to be frank, but it's a very amazing area where combination is still working on it. Yeah.
Ma'am, we have one more question.
Yes.
Any suggestions for a faculty teaching business analytics for the first time, and what prerequisite knowledge is needed?
First, I would, I mean, basically, you have to play with the data. That's something which I felt. You have to have statistical knowledge. You should be able to understand the the statistics part of it also, but also the business situations. Either it is in finance, HR, marketing, or it can be in any stream, some business objective we are, if you identify, and how do we go for the creation of the object. It's just like a research article, I would say. You have an objective, or you have an area of opportunity, we go with that. That's the first step. Second step, which we usually do with respect to the collection of our data, which we do like in our projects, MBA projects, or any other projects, we collect the data, whether it is a primary source or a secondary source. Then we go with a lot of uses of statistical hypothesis is created, and then we go use various models. And how are we using those models for better decisions? So research articles, working on our research articles, reading through various research papers also will have a better exposure in terms of understanding how the various objectives are framed, how, because we as in an institution, we need to understand what's happening in the market, and how the collection of the data. And we can also start working on small projects in terms of using your predictive analytics, in terms of your SEM models and all with the students we can set. So what we do is we just make a questionnaire, ask the students to make, I'm sure marketing research, we have various questionnaires we ask the students to make the questionnaire in the class, and let them identify both their IVs and DVs, and then make a questionnaire and let them distribute the questionnaire with the different headings to the students themselves. Like 10 questions, if you take 15, 10 or 12 questions, a team comprising of 5 students in a bench or 3 students in a bench, let them make a questionnaire, IVs and DVs, and then let them make a Google form and just circulate it in the class. and the audience are students. That is where your career development factors influencing career development, or the thought process, as I said, social media, the behavioral aspect of it, we can take the data. Now once they download it, and we tell the excel, we can show them through regression, which I just shared with you all. So we can work on those areas, and then basically as a faculty, I would suggest that we should have knowledge with respect to the various cross functional areas, because we're not just concentrating on HR, finance, marketing. We should be aware of the various cross functional areas, and also a good research in terms of various cross functional areas, and also statistical knowledge is a must in order to go with respect to business analytics. But I'm sure it's not very complicated, because as faculty, either it is in an educational sector, either it is in a commerce, either it is in a management stream, every one of us are involved in certain research papers or research articles. So you collect the data, and we do some papers with respect to either primary data or secondary data. So we do some models. We start working on the time series data, or we go with respect to the basic modeling, and then that will definitely give us the weightage in order to teach analytics, because small models can be used. Like first you do for a t-test, ANOVA, then we go for regression, you go for chi-squares, which is like demographic factors, associations and all, then go for predictive analytics, regression and all. If you're good in regression, then go for logistic regression, hierarchical regression. So consciously you have one questionnaire done, then you can go for a lot of modeling. So that is something which we can go about. So statistics is a must, having basic knowledge, and is excel, using excel, that's the minimum which we look for, where that will help us out. Then you have a cross functional knowledge in terms of how what is going to impact what. I'm sure, I think that would actually help us out in starting our career as a business analytics faculty. So that actually helped me in the same way. I started with various research projects, then I went for my analytics. So that's going to help us out. So that's something, sir. We are very fortunate, John sir, that we are, um, you know, organizations. That's a reason, it's a need of the hour. If the CEO of the organization, who is a strategic decision maker, has to know what's happening in the outside world, that's something which, as any organization, in order to gain a competitive advantage, he should know what's happening in the market. If I don't know what's happening in the market, no. But Sentence has done a brilliant job in identifying amazing topics, is understanding the market. The Sentence College has done a brilliant job in identifying the areas. Now if I look about it, as a CEO of, or a president of a company, you need to understand the market conditions, and you need to know that what is the present market, and what is this market doing. There should be a team who has to work on the same. Now if a president or the CEO is not at all interested, and not at all are really passionate about going about the change, the organization is doomed to go down. So if the CEO of the company's commitment is there, that I want to go for something which is so prominent and important, which will make my company sustain, grow, sustain in the long run, that's the decision he has to take. So that he has to basically cascade it to the lower level, from a strategic level to the lower level, because it's all cross functional. As a HR department, I need to align my goals with my business objectives. As a marketing, I need to my head marketing function has to align with my business objective. I want to have an innovative organization. As a CEO of my company, my HR, marketing, finance, everything has to be aligned with my business objective, which I formulated. And how do I reach that? I need to you understand various data driven, because everything is data driven decision making. How will I make an innovative company, or a technology driven? How will I expand? How will I? So it's all data driven. So how we are going to use it? So if he has an awareness, it's amazing. If the person doesn't have the awareness, then definitely it's something which the organization is doomed to go down. So I hope I answered this question. It's an important area. As a CEO, it's a mandate for him that he should understand. But if he's not understanding as a CEO, then it's definitely the commitment not there from the top level management. The analytics will not come into the picture at all, and that will doom in terms of the business sustainability. It's going to affect. I hope I could answer, John sir. Yeah. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So I hope the sessions were, because of the time and also the technical part of it, I restrained in terms of this area. I just confined to only few tools, and I just wanted to show. But because of the time, and you have to talk about the concept and application. But I hope that to certain extent I could reach the expectations of the audience. I hope so. And I would like to thank the total management for providing this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. One more question, one last question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is on YouTube from Priyashruti. Among predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics, which will benefit more from students' point of view?
Uh, Students' point of view, it's only gets benefited once they make a career out of it. Once they make a career out of it, because anyway we are talking about business scenarios. So as a student, we should know descriptive, predictive, prescriptive. Everybody, everything they should know. And you want to make a career in a business analytics area, and as a person, you should know all three. You have to have a clear idea about all these three areas for sure. That's a must. But the application of the same will change based on the business objective of your company. Your company might, Amazon does an amazing dashboards and metrics only with respect to descriptive analytics, where students will get into Amazon and they are in data analytics and business analytics, key performance indicators and data dashboard descriptives part only. They go about it. There are people, the same students might be at a higher level. I won't say initially they may not use initially, but at the higher level, after a few years down the experience, they might help the organization, being a key member in the company, to help them to make better decisions with respect to the prescriptive and predictive analytics. But as a student, I suggest that everybody should know everything in terms of at least the modeling, the decision making through experience and all. They will go about it, but as a person they should know everything, all three. Try to learn it at least to have a basic knowledge. I'm not talking about the expert level, because there are amazing courses. I would suggest, like, there are really amazing courses where we can directly start working on with respect to analytics. Like amazing courses we have in Coursera, edX, NPTEL, amazing courses. So you can listen to it, you can enroll yourself, understand what's happening. You can start from there, and then you have your certifications. Good, Microsoft has amazing certifications as well. So you go about it slowly. Students can work on that, and then definitely they can start working in some organizations based on the requirements and based on their, of course, their interest as well. But as a student, I would say, I keep telling my students, whether it is finance, HR, marketing, production, healthcare, anywhere and everywhere, as a person, you should know the basic analytics, so that will help them to know like how decisions are taken. At least they know how the decisions, if already decisions are made. Otherwise, if they have to make decisions in the future, it will definitely help them or guide them to make decisions. Of course, not only them, all of us actually, as a matter of fact.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights with us, ma'am, and
Thank
answering all the queries with great patience.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, with your permission, we will move on to the vote of thanks.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Thank you.
Before that, I just would like to give one small announcement to the audience. Dear audience, feedback link is posted in the chat box and it will be open only for the 10 minutes. Right? Thank you. I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks. A very humble good afternoon to one and all. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the Almighty God for making this today's session a resounding success. My sincere gratitude to our correspondent sister Shamla and principal sister Amy Gracie Vas for their continued guidance and support. Our profound thanks to our resource person, Dr. K. Suvachila Rani, for your part in our FEP and handling the session informatively. My heartfelt thanks to Professor Y. Sucharita, Chief Coordinator of the FEP, for her meticulous planning and guidance. We thank all the participants for attending today's session and being with us. I express our gratitude to each and everyone who helped for the success of this session. Thank you and have a cheerful evening.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Really amazing, wonderful coordination from the total team here. And I sincerely thank Sister Emmy Gracie Vyas, ma'am, principal of this college, and Dr. Y. Sucharita, ma'am, the professor and head department of business management, for a wonderful, the team. They have brilliant coordination. And thank you for inviting me for being part of this session. I would like to thank Dr. Lavanya and all for basically coordinating with me. We had discussions regarding the same, and also would like to thank Mrs. Ashwini and the total team here who were there with respect to the amazing conduct of the event so far. And I'm sure it's going to be a brilliant sessions next 4th week, and I would like to wish all the best from my side. Thank you once again, and I would like to thank the wonderful participants, because without them the event would not be successful. And this is they have been an amazing participants as well. So
Thank you, ma'am.